Happy New Year, cheers to 2022, and cheers to the start of another dry January. Cheers, y'all. How's it going? I just burnt the absolute hell out of my mouth going for a sip of this coffee, so I am going to set it to the side to cool down. Got a new Yeti for Christmas, and that does indeed keep the coffee much hotter than I am used to, so gonna let that continue to cool down a bit. But welcome to 2022, and welcome to another year of dry January. Before I jump into things, I had a lot of videos planned for the end of the year, my 2021 recap, as well as my 2022 goals. Those are coming out, stay tuned. But of course, I wanted to get the video out kicking off 2022's dry January. For those of you who have been following me for a while, you know that I participate in dry January every year. And for those of you who are new, first and foremost, I hope you will click that subscribe button down below. But dry January is pretty self-explanatory. It is just a month of sobriety, no drugs, alcohol, anything like that. I think it's a nice way to just enter the new year with a clear mind, clear focus to start to build some healthy habits to hopefully carry you through the rest of the year. So like I said, I've been participating in dry January for the last several years now. The first year I ever participated in dry January was certainly the most profound. And the reason that I say that is because the reason I decided to join or attempt dry January that first year was just because I had reached a place where I was starting to realize that my beer drinking had become a habit. And what I mean by that is it had just become part of my daily routine. So anytime I was going over to someone's house or going to some event, first thing I did, crack open a beer. Most days when I was getting home from work, first thing, crack open a beer for dinner, maybe have one after dinner as well. I was certainly starting to realize some negative impacts, particularly on my sleep and just feeling really groggy in the mornings. Again, I wasn't really noticing that initially, but as soon as my sleep quality improved during dry January was when I started to notice, oh, this is really having an effect on not just my evenings, but then the next day as well, overall productivity, etc. So really enjoyed the dry January challenge just to build some mindfulness and focus into the choices that I was making, and have decided to continue that tradition year after year, enjoying dry January and also building in some new aspects to the challenge as well. Last year, I actually decided to join the Thirst for Knowledge podcast's official dry January challenge. Highly recommend checking them out. I've actually appeared on a couple of those episodes. I will link to those down below if you're interested in checking them out. But they do an official dry January challenge every year, and they start to incorporate some additional challenges aside from just the general base sobriety. So last year's dry January challenge wasn't just going dry for the entire month of January, but it also incorporated a physical and a nutritional challenge as well. The challenges aren't predetermined, you set them for yourself. So this year they are back again with a similar challenge, but with an added piece as well. So it is the dry January sobriety piece, plus the physical challenge you set for yourself, the nutritional challenge you set for yourself, but then a new mental challenge you can set for yourself as well. So I'll go through each of those one by one. Like I said, the sobriety piece, just the base level, very self-explanatory. For the physical challenge, challenge number 2, last year I set a goal for myself to complete at least 3 strength workouts every week. That's an area of my running that I know I continually need to work on. I'm gonna do something similar this year, so I'm gonna commit to 3 strength workouts every week. I want to add a caveat that at least one of those 3 workouts has to incorporate weightlifting as well. Again, an aspect of my running that I know is so important, but I don't commit to nearly enough. So 3 strength workouts, one of those must incorporate weightlifting. And then in addition to that, I want to be completing at least 4 mobility workouts every week. So that's going to be the big step up from last year. That's 7 workouts each week that I need to be completing. But of course, I can do multiple in one day, so I can incorporate a strength and a mobility workout as well. I think that's a high bar, but I think will be very useful and hopefully a habit that I can continue throughout the rest of the new year. So that's the physical piece. Moving on to the nutritional piece. Last year, my challenge for myself was to seek out and find one new healthy recipe to make for my wife and I for dinner every week. So at least one recipe each week, which I really enjoyed because it brought some variety into our eating. It also allowed me to contribute a little bit more in the kitchen than I had been. So I am bringing that back this year, but I'm gonna go ahead and say at least one new meal every week, but I want to try for a total of 6 meals for the month. So I'll have to double up a couple weeks or do it a little bit more than one each week, but I want to commit to doing at least one each week. I don't want to wait until the last week and be like, oh God, I just have to make all 6 right in a row. I have the Run Fast, Cook Fast, Eat Slow cookbook from Shailene Flanagan. Have been loving that so far and have tried some of the recipes that have now become regular parts of our eating habits. So I'm hoping that will continue if I can pull some new recipes from there as well throughout the month. And last but not least, the mental challenge, which I struggled with for a while only because the Thirst for Knowledge podcast, when talking about this aspect of the challenge, left it pretty broad. Anything that requires any sort of mental strength, mental fortitude, grit, etc. So it could be something like, I want to read 10 pages of a book every day, or I want to learn a new skill, anything like that, like a knowledge-based challenge. Or it could be maybe a task that you've had on your table that's kind of a long-term goal that you just haven't been working towards, and set a goal to work on completing that task, etc. Anything that requires mental space, mental focus to get through, that can be your mental challenge. So what I decided to do for myself for this year is, since so much of the reason that I participate in Dry January is habit-based, wanting to focus on setting healthy habits throughout the rest of the year, I want to commit to habit tracking for the month of January. So if you're not familiar with that, it's an idea I got from bullet journaling. I've been very intrigued by bullet journaling, but have never really felt like I wanted to commit fully to the whole almost cult, sometimes it seems like, of bullet journaling. But one thing that I really like is this idea of habit tracking, where basically at the start of every month, or on like your monthly breakdown page, you just have maybe some habits that you want to try, some habits that you want to build, some healthy habits that you want to build. And for each habit, you have for January, we'll have the 31 days of the month listed. And for every day you complete whatever that habit is, you check off that day. So then at the end of the month, you can actually visualize how many days you were successful in completing that habit or in building that habit. And the idea isn't to focus on the failures and say, oh, I missed it these days, but is all about bringing mindfulness to the days when you are completing it, and maybe some awareness to, on the days you didn't, what got in the way, so that hopefully it just becomes part of your routine because you start thinking about those habits more, so it's easier to incorporate into your day-to-day. The habits themselves, I'm gonna keep to myself. Those are more personal for me, but my main reason for wanting to complete this is, a lot of the stuff that I want to get done, or a lot of the habits that I want to build into my life, the reason that I don't oftentimes is just because I forget. There's so much else going on that I just let those things slip to the side. They fall off my radar and I only think about them weeks later. I'm like, oh my God, I haven't done X, Y, Z. So I want to just kind of build out those monthly calendars for each habit and make it my goal to, at the end of every day, check off which ones that I completed. Again, not focusing on having to complete that every day, but focusing instead on just bringing some mindfulness to, am I completing the habits? Am I doing them as often as I want to? And so hopefully they will become more solidified in my daily routine. So I hope all that makes sense. I feel like I started to ramble there at the end a little bit, but that is the 2022 Dry January Challenge, the Thirst for Knowledge podcast challenge. Again, I will link to them down below. Highly recommend checking them out. They are a phenomenal podcast. And I hope if you are interested, you will consider participating in Dry January as well. I know we're a few days into January, so don't worry if you haven't been keeping up with it so far. I have flexed it in the past based on some requirements. Like, I think the first year I ever did it, I was planning on participating in Dry January, and then as a Christmas gift, my parents enrolled me in a beer tasting class the first weekend in January. So I just said, all right, I'll wait until that first weekend, and then I will just go into the first weekend in February. So feel free to flex it if needed. But overall, very excited for all of the challenges, and also very excited to report on my progress throughout. Like I said, I think Dry January is just an excellent opportunity to start the year strong and start building some of those healthy routines that you want to maintain for yourself throughout the year. So let me know if you are participating as well. Comment down below if you've set challenges or goals for yourself for the month of January, and I will be back later this week with the long overdue 2021 recap and the much anticipated goals for 2022. Looking forward to a phenomenal year and looking forward to bringing plenty of more content to you all. So thank you as always for tuning in. If you don't already, I hope you will click that subscribe button, give the video a thumbs up, and until next time, I'll see you around. Cheers.